Hi, it's Paul Sakis, Good News Broadcast. I'm speaking to Brenda Novak. Hi, Brenda. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing great, and you?
Okay, real well. I have one of your latest books called White Heat in front of me. Congratulations.
Thank you. That just came out on Tuesday. I'm excited about it.
Yay, New York Times and USA, a best-selling author. And it says on your website here, where'd your website go? Oh, there it is. Sophisticated, evocative, romantic suspense. There's a lot of good words.
That's right.
Let's go back. We're going to also hear about a beautiful outreach you do about juvenile diabetes. Real good there, news there, and a lot of love, I can tell, in that regard. But let's go back just a little bit with your writing career, which I thought was kind of interesting, how, in essence, you weren't a writer, and then you became a writer, and it took you some time to become a writer, and now you're a very, very successful writer. Did that all make sense?
Yes. Actually, it was a difficult period in my life that sort of forced me into writing. I'm one of those few people who didn't aspire to become a writer, like most do. I didn't have stories running around in my head since I was a child. I thought I was left-brain, business-oriented, and that's where I was going until I caught my daycare provider drugging my children with cough syrup to get them to sleep all day. So she could watch TV unhindered. And they were up all night with me while I was trying to work. And anyway, when I found it in my baby's bottle, certain things clicked, and I understood what had been going on and was, of course, devastated and could no longer trust anyone. So I had to stay home with my children, and I had to make a living from home. My husband was going through a difficult time with his business. He was in real estate, and the market had really taken a plunge, and we were fighting to hang on to, our home and the possessions that we had, keep a roof over our heads, and yet I felt like I couldn't leave my children. So I was reading a good book at the time, and I thought, maybe I can do this. Fortunately, it panned out for me.
Well, I mean, you're prolific. I mean, you've written a lot of books. Somewhere, somehow, there's that creativity within you.
Yes, well, now that I've found it, I feel like it's what I was meant to be doing all along. It's something that I will never leave. I absolutely love it. But it wasn't something that I initially thought of,
And why would you say, romance, kind of suspense novels? Why that genre? How did that, was that your first book also?
No, my first book was a historical romance.
Okay.
It actually started out as a plain historical, and then I shaped it into a romance because romance is, more than 50% of all mass market paperback. So breaking in is tough, and so I wanted to go through the widest door possible. So that was a bit of a business decision, but I knew that I loved romance. It wasn't the only genre I read. I was a very eclectic reader. My favorites were the classics, Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, Gone with the Wind, all of that type of thing. So, and those are all romances at their heart.
Big time.
Yeah. So I figured, I would write a romance and see if I could break in. And then I was orphaned after that first book, which means your editor is let go and you no longer have an advocate at the house. And my first book hadn't come out yet, so they didn't keep me on once she left. And luckily, I had met my current editor, who works for Harlequin, at a regional conference. And they have an imprint called MIRA, where they publish a lot of suspense and, not necessarily what people associate with Harlequin. They have male writers there, and they don't stick exclusively to romance, although they do publish quite a few. And I chose this genre simply because I think that a love story is at the heart of almost every good story. And the suspense, I love crime fiction and sort of good triumphs over evil type of themes, redemption themes. And so the two went hand in hand. I think they're exciting because you get the bigger plot that some, straight romances don't need a huge plot because it's all about the relationship. But in these books, you get sort of an intricate, either whodunit or more of a thriller-esque type feel to it, where you know who did it, but you're wondering if they're going to escape. And then you also get, the happy ever after at the ending with the two people who have found a good romantic relationship that will continue.
Does White Heat have a happily ever after-ish?
Yes. Every book I write does. You just have to worry about how they're going to get there.
Okay, it's good. And so then what's good news for you, Brenda?
Well, other than these books coming out, I actually have two more coming out. They're part of a trilogy. Body Heat and Killer Heat will be coming out real shortly. Body Heat comes out at the end of this month on the 31st, and then Killer Heat next month. So this publishing model, as you mentioned, I am prolific, but this type of publishing model seems to work really well for aspiring writers who are, hoping to establish more of a presence. It gets your name out there more often, and it does cause a lot of work, but it's fun for readers to be able to pick up one book after the other as they invest in a series and get to know characters. Other good news, of course, is we hit $1 million raised on my diabetes auction. This was my sixth year of running it, and this was the year we broke through that mark and hit a new annual record at over 300,000.
Great. So tell us a little history on that one.
Well, it started out kind of slow. My son was diagnosed with diabetes when he was 5 years old, and I was very compelled from the beginning. I just felt like I had to do something to fight back, and it was not something that I could make go away, even though I really wanted it to, because I had 5 little kids and was just starting a writing career and no resources, and thought, there's no way, how am I going to do this? But this dream just took hold and wouldn't let go. And about a year later, I spent this year racking my brain to decide what could I do. And I was at a silent auction, and it just wasn't that well attended. And I thought, there's got to be a better way to do this than trying to get so many people under one roof at one time and feed them all. And all of a sudden, it hit me. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've established all this traffic at my website through my writing. I wonder if these folks would be willing to help me raise money for a good cause like this. So I put together my first one, and in our first year, we only raised $34,500 and some dollars. But it was enough to let me know that the idea could work, and it was before, online shopping was as prevalent as it is now. In 6 years, we've come a long way. And so I built it a little bit bigger, kind of like a snowball, and it kept rolling and rolling, and the next year we doubled, and the next year we doubled, and then we kind of hit this recession, so we didn't double, but we continued to grow, and we've hit a new record every year. So I have high hopes. I mean, I'm not going to quit now that we've hit $1 million. I'm going for $2 million.
So how working and living and helping your son with the diabetes, what are some of the kinds of things you do as a parent, or you and your husband do as parents?
Well, most people who are familiar with diabetes understand that it's relentless. I mean, there's no time where you get a break where you can say, okay, he's sleeping, I'm off. You have to watch vigilantly even while they're sleeping. I get up every night and test his blood just to make sure that it's neither too high nor too low. And there's been plenty of times I've been glad I've done that, which is why I continue after all these years. We continually encourage him to test often during the day, try and feed him good food, keep him very active, teach him to be grateful for the advances that we've had. I think it's easy to feel like, I hate these shots, I hate this pump, I have to put it in every 3 days, but those things are huge blessings because they've improved your control so much. You can control the disease so much easier with these devices. Not that it's easy, but easier, especially now that he's in puberty and his blood numbers are not what we would like them to be. But you get growth hormones and other things that block the insulin, and it gets very tricky. And diabetes affects every major organ in the body, and it's the 5th deadliest killer. So it's common, and it's something that we need to beat, and I'm really excited to be part of the fight.
And thank God this is something just in this one child. I mean, you mentioned you have many children.
Yes, it does seem to run in families, although there have been scientists who have refuted that too. And it's an autoimmune deficiency, basically, where your autoimmune system turns on your pancreas and kills your insulin-producing cells. But a lot of families that have one child with diabetes will end up with another one, so we have to continually watch our other children. But knock on wood, so far he's the only one we've got, and he's a little bit beefier, a little more, muscular than my other son. My other son, so he's getting tall and skinny. I don't know where I put that pump, so I'm really hoping he hangs on.
How's his attitude in life?
Wonderful, wonderful. It just rolls right off him. He's had a great attitude from the beginning. Of course, now he doesn't remember a time when he didn't have diabetes, I don't think. He's had it for 8 years. But he's not worried about people seeing that he's wearing a pump or self-conscious about, taking insulin or whatever. He's just large and in charge and loves life, and we're very happy and proud that he handles it as well as he does. Of course, the downside to that type of personality is they often are not scared of what it can do, which means you're not cautious enough. So that's really where he slips, and we have to try and, oversee that, make sure he goes off with his friends and thinks, I feel fine, so I must be fine. And that isn't always the case with diabetes. It's kind of the silent killer.
Mm-hmm. Now, you have something coming up on August 4th, right, between 8 and 10?
Yes, it's a very exciting launch party that we're having. We did it on Twitter so that everybody can participate no matter where they're at. And there's registration on the homepage of my website, and everyone who registers will get a snail mail packet of things mailed to them. Of course, now we're getting so close that we're going to switch to email to make sure people have their raffle ticket numbers. because we're giving away some fabulous prizes, 3 iPads, gift cards to Barnes & Noble, Borders, Outback. It's going to be really fun, and we'll be talking about the book, and I'll be answering any questions people have about, getting published, staying published, writing, romance, anything.
So the new age of new technology, do you see that being helpful for an author?
I do. I think that it also puts more on her plate, however. I mean, you're doing a lot of work with promotion and social media that never happened before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like the old days where you just sort of sequestered yourself in your room and wrote, and then you handed it over to the publisher, and they took it from there. It's much more of a team approach now between the agent, editor, and author. We're all working harder and doing more and sort of sharing responsibilities that were never shared before. So it's interesting. You have a little bit more control. I like it because I am business-minded to a certain extent, and so I like having more say in the business decisions that are made. And at the same time, it can stretch you pretty thin, especially if you're a mother of 5 and run a charity auction that's as big as mine and turn out 3 books a year.
You're a busy bee.
Yes, I am.
Well, that's marvelous. And she rides 20 miles a day on a bicycle, I believe, something like that, right?
Yes, that's what keeps me sane. I have to get my exercise in every day.
Maybe some synopsis of White Heat.
White Heat is about 2 undercover agents. They work for a private security company, so they get to bend the rules a little bit, which was fun on my part. They have to infiltrate a dangerous cult that has set up shop in the Arizona desert. And it's an exciting read because, these 2 operatives are completely cut off. It's not like if they get into trouble, they can call for backup. They're in a ghost town, way in the middle of nowhere, that this cult has taken over. And they're dealing with a very powerful man and the people who support him 100% no matter what he does. Of course, there's a relationship involved. They've got a little bit of history between them and don't want to have to go on this assignment together, especially because it means they have to act as husband and wife in order to get involved in some of the rituals that this cult practices. So it's fun on both sides. You get to see the dynamic of this relationship as they figure out how to stop this cult lead.
Okay. Can you see movies made out of your books?
Definitely. I think the suspense element translates really well to movies. So hopefully one day that will happen.
So we want to say this very loud so Hollywood hears?
Yes, exactly. Send books to their doorstep, whatever we got to do.
All sounds good. All righty. Well, you sound like you have a lot of good news and happiness around you and in your body and in your soul and a lot of healthy activities.
Definitely. I'm very happy and encouraged by, the success that I've had both in my writing and especially with my auction. People have really been more than generous, and I can't tell them how grateful I am for their support.
Well, you just did, and that's beautiful. Thank you. Brenda, thanks so much for sharing good news with us.
You bet. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.